TGR News, broadcasting from the State of Israel.
Welcome back to TGR News.
Shalom, shalom from Israel.
Yeah. Well, yesterday was the Holocaust Day.
Yeah.
And I think it's always so beautiful how you can see going down the highway when at 10 o'clock, or wherever anyone's at 10 o'clock, everyone stops everything to stand at attention for 2 minutes. I think it's great.
You can almost be sure that even every Jew in Israel is standing in his home, it's standing up quiet for that 2 minutes.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, whether you're driving your car down the highway or
Yep.
in a shopping place or at home, you stand up for 2 minutes because the show was something else.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, go into politics.
Okay.
Straight into it.
Yep.
Mansour Abbas, the head of the United Arab List, he is still playing on both sides of the card here, with the left and the right, saying he hasn't made his decisions yet who he's going to go with, because he knows he seems to be the guy who might make the difference.
You're talking about the Arab guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just can't wrap my head around the fact that in Bennett or Netanyahu or now Lapid is a different story, but Bennett and Netanyahu, I just can't believe either one of them are really going to accept this Arab into the thing.
Yeah.
However, it's a political game, and to keep your opponent off balance a little bit, you make him think that you just might if he doesn't do this or do that.
Right.
You know how the politics play, but
Yeah, absolutely.
so I don't put a whole lot of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. It's true. Like you say, they always playing those games. This Monday, Bibi started his trial, his court trial, and then right afterwards, he addressed the nation about how it was just basically a witch hunt, how they were just trying to throw anything at him that would stick, and they didn't. The prosecutor didn't even show up for the trial at this stage. So it was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I think after this election, they're going to have to let up on this criminal charges and everything, because they're all bogus, and everyone knows they're bogus. You can't go to jail or be kicked out of the Prime Minister's office just because you drank too many bottles of wine or smoked too many cigars, right?
That's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Well, Friday morning, Bennett met with Bibi, and then Saturday evening, he met with Lapid, and he's always saying he hasn't decided yet. Yeah.
I know, but I just said it. I'll reiterate it again. He's saying that, but it's not the way it is. But Netanyahu is struggling. He's fighting for his life.
Yeah.
Once he's out of the Prime Minister's office, he's open game for the powers to be that might want to bring him all the way down, right?
Yeah.
And even his legacy. So it's a real battle for Netanyahu.
Yeah.
And so Bennett's taking advantage of that. That's all, and that's just politics.
And Bennett also publicly stated a few times that he would go in a coalition with Lapid as long as Lapid gives him first rotation of being a prime minister.
Yeah, but you can see through that, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean, if he's got the first 2 years of a 4-year term as prime minister, he can do a lot. Lapid could be non grata after just a very small amount of time, right?
Right.
Just a good example, just what happened with Bibi and Gantz, right?
Yeah.
And so he sees what's happening to Gantz. If Lapid sees what happened to Gantz, he knows the same thing can happen to him if he's on the second end of that prime minister.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the president gave the mandat, the power to make a coalition this Monday. During the time that Bibi was in court, he gave it to Likud, to Bibi. So now the clock is ticking for 28 days for Bibi to make a coalition before it goes back to the president, and then it goes to the Knesset.
Yeah. You know who the real bad guy in this is? It is Saar. He's the really bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he split up the vote, and the 3 elections. We're in our 4th one now.
Yeah.
And within 2 years, all the other 3 elections, you can almost always blame Lieberman.
Lieberman, yeah, the Russian guy.
But there's always a villain somewhere around the corner waiting to step into the place again. But I really believe that within 28 days, Netanyahu's a magician when it comes to politics.
He's been there for long enough to learn how it works.
Yeah, so he's got 28 days, but then he failed 3 times before. So
Yep, he did.
So we'll see what happens.
We'll see. Hopefully, yeah. Well, Jordan, you heard about the coup happening in Jordan with with the prince and everything. What the big deal with that about is Jordan for decades has been our main stable Arab neighbor. And also, don't forget, we have borders with Egypt and Lebanon and Syria, but there's just little small borders. Yeah. Jordan's half of our border.
Very long border, all the way down the Jordan River. Yeah, all the way to the Dead Sea, Red Sea.
Yeah, you have all of Jordan on one side and the Mediterranean on the other side.
Yeah. Matter of fact, you can almost see Jordan from our house. Just drive a couple miles and you can see Jordan from our house.
Well, yeah, that's it. It really is a big deal with Jordan because it's a front we don't want to have to open up right now. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
They're not a real military threat.
No.
They probably think they are, but they're really not a military threat. They're really a parasite country. They survive mostly from the United States. Probably is the biggest support. That King Abdullah has. So. Yeah. They're not a real threat, but it opens up a gigantic opening door for the Syrians, all of them to come on across the Jordan River straight into us. And remember that right here between Netanyahu and what we call the Green Line, it's just 9 miles is all it is.
Right, exactly.
So it's got to be taken care of.
Yeah. Well, also another big thing down south in the Red Sea, 1,000 miles from the southern border of Israel in the Red Sea, an Iranian secret intelligence container ship was on its way north towards Israel, and it was damaged just enough to make it back home. Israel is not taking responsibility for it. There was no one injured, no one killed, no nothing. It was just damaged just enough so that they had to turn around and go home, and they would be able to make it home.
Yeah, well, if Israel doesn't if they didn't do it, or if they did do it, they usually say they're making no comment about it.
Yeah.
But this time they're saying they didn't do it.
Right, exactly.
And I believe him. When Israel says they didn't do it,
they usually didn't do it.
They usually didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, how about you? You got anything else you want to add?
Well, we need to talk a little bit about this ministry. We need to talk, the Jerry Golden Ministries. We're moving at a very slow pace, and things are happening very quickly now in Europe. We're in a real bind to get in a position to be able to take off with boats and help be able to help finance it, do all the financing around from the shores that we're going to people going with us and the other boats we can encourage to come. We really need it. Joe's got here a while back. Now, a matter of fact, this food thing's been on your mind for what?
So about 8-9 years.
8 or 9 years, yeah. He's got a real burden to help feed. For many years, we fed several families all around this part of the Jerusalem area. And the way we did that is we would go I went to the poorest neighborhood in Jerusalem, to the school district. And there I found social workers. Connie and I sat down with the social workers and talked to them about who was the poorest of the poor of the children in their classes, talking about the first, second, and third grade. And they would tell us, and then we would go meet the families, and from that point on, we would go by there once every month to give them 1,000 shekels, which is about $300, and was then, because the dollars came way down now with the shekels. But and it would be enough for them to buy all their groceries for a month. I couldn't pay everyone's bills, but we could help several families. But we've got to the point where we can't do that anymore. As a matter of fact, if it gets much worse, somebody's got to bring us some food. So we'll see what happens, but God's always there, and He's always a provider, and He's never late. So, but His people need to know, and it's an obligation that we have, and others like us have, to make the needs known. So I want you to understand, we really need your help right now. If we're going to save Jewish lives, we can't do it. Joe and I by ourselves in a couple boats, we can't do it.
Right.
We need a lot of logistics that surrounds all of that, and all of it takes finances. We need your financial help right now.
Absolutely, amen.
And that's it.
Okay. Well, until next week, thanks for joining us.
Okay, God bless and Shabbat Shalom.
Bye-bye.